So then, a whole raft of measures have been announced in the Chancellor's budget today. But what does it really mean here in the East Midlands? We've been talking to shoppers in Nottingham, to families in Leicester and business leaders right across the region. More on that in a moment. First though, let's just have a look at some of the main headlines. So a cut in national insurance by 2p, meaning that it falls from 10% to 8%, and that change comes into effect next month. Jeremy Hunt has also increased the child benefit threshold, and that goes up from £50,000 to £60,000. There's a new tax on vapes and a one-off rise on tobacco. Well, come over here. Our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball is in the studio. So Jeremy, as we said, that's the headline, that's the big picture. But was there anything a bit more sort of specific for the East Midlands?
Yeah, and there were a number of potential crowd pleasers. Some money for regenerating Hucknall Town Centre, for cultural projects in Erewash. There is also a move to tackle soaring rents in places like Derbyshire Dales by taxing holiday lets. And another £1 million for a memorial to Muslims who gave their lives to this country in the two world wars. A lot of this budget, though, is about getting people into work and making that work pay. So, how's it going to affect people here at Hyson Green Market in Nottingham, where they were hunting for bargains as the Chancellor gave his speech today? One announcement is designed to stop more pubs ending up looking like this. That is another freeze on alcohol duty. But what about that big headline-grabbing announcement, that 2% cut in national insurance?
The man that goes out and spends his small little wages, does that help him? I can't see how that's helping somebody. Cut it a little minute cut here and there. It doesn't affect you. You can't feel it.
It feels like they're doing it, giving us a little bit, then taking more. Give us a little bit, take more. That's all they seem to do, the government, don't they?
I'm a pensioner. It's not helping me.
Nothing. It's nothing to us. We still feel it. Them little changes, we're still struggling. It's not enough.
So not enough. Talking about people who are struggling, has the Chancellor done anything for them?
Yeah, I mean, he addressed, first of all, one very big concern about plans to end what's known as the Household Support Fund, and that's used for things like food and fuel vouchers and for school uniform grants in Nottingham. That has been extended today by another 6 months. The Chancellor's also giving people longer to repay any universal credit debts. There has been criticism, though, from several charities. Scope and Leonard Cheshire say there was nothing in this for disabled people. And the Joseph Rowntree Foundation described it as a budget for big earners and big owners.
Oh, gosh. OK, Jim, well, don't go away because we'll come back and chat again in a moment. But the Chancellor called his budget a budget for growth. But did he announce anything that would cheer up the business community after some difficult years? Rachel Royce was watching the Chancellor's speech with the East Midlands Chamber in Nottingham.
Interest rates remain high as we bring down inflation.
If anyone is going to listen to a long speech about taxation, it's the business community. They want to know how much their businesses will cost to run and whether their customers will have more money to spend in future.
We value our hospitality industry and are backing the Great British Pub.
So for the East Midlands Chamber, it was all eyes on the telly as Jeremy Hunt made announcements that could affect them.
I commend this statement to the House.
So what did his business audience make of it?
I was not expecting very much and I didn't receive very much, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Didn't want any shocks.
Chancellor was going on about skilled jobs, a skilled economy. That's fine, but that's not everybody.
£100 million of levelling up funding to areas including High Peak.
There was welcome money from the Levelling Up Fund for Erewash and High Peak in Derbyshire.
Well, it's always good to see money coming into the East Midlands region. As everybody knows, we are one of those regions that suffers most in terms of investment.
One big change for some tourism businesses in our area. The Chancellor announced an end to the favourable tax regime for furnished holiday lets. Something of a double-edged sword, perhaps.
You hear constantly first-time buyers can't get on the housing market because of the volume of holiday lets, etc. But of course the visitor economy is also important, so it's got to be really balanced.
Well, there were no big surprises in that budget. It had mostly been previewed, and if you're a business person, that's a good thing. No surprises means no shocks. However, some of the people here were a little disappointed that the Chancellor didn't do more to help business. Rachel Royce, BBC East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
Well, the owner of a nursery in Leicester says she feels undervalued and disappointed by today's budget as there weren't any measures announced to help her sector. Harriet Bacchus-Griffin owns 4 nurseries across the county. She says she's got children on waiting lists, but she's struggling to recruit more staff. Helen Astle reports.
4-year-old Rohan has been coming here since he was a baby. His mum is looking forward to him starting school, so she won't have to pay nursery fees. Her current bill is over £800 a month.
It's expensive because we have to watch our budget all the time. Since we've had the 30 hours free, we've managed to get it down, but it's still, still more than a mortgage.
Harriet has been running nurseries for over 20 years. She's struggling to recruit more staff.
This is a 100-place day nursery. We've currently got 36% occupancy on a good day. We simply can't get the staff, but we have to still have the age groups as they are. Heating costs, lighting costs, rent. The rent is the same for 100 children as it is for 30.
For Harriet, it's been a disappointing budget.
Completely undervalued still. The key word in there was still free childcare. And we're fighting hard to say it isn't free, it's subsidised by us.
At the moment, most 3-year-olds get 30 hours free funding per week from the government through the council. But here's the problem. The government pays the nurseries around £5 per hour. Can you put that one on top, Tara? Per child. But the nursery's running costs are far higher than that. Should we do it, Jack? The nursery's running costs are around £8 an hour. Put that one on top, and that includes staff wages, overheads and insurances. And another one, and that discrepancy is massive. Jess has been working in childcare for 7 years. Today's budget is good news for her.
I'll be able to get my own house, I'll be able to have more for my savings to get my house, so generally, yeah, I'm happy.
With any budget, there are winners and losers. While some here are able to plan ahead, for others, they don't know what the future holds. Helen Astle, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicester.
Well, Jeremy's back again. We looked at business then, we've looked at families there, but everyone's talking about public services.
Yeah, and the Chancellor knows a lot of people have been really worried about the NHS. So a big push in the budget today to make that more efficient with money for new technology, billions of it, designed to free up staff so that they can focus on cutting waiting lists. And there have been similar announcements today for other public services as well. Though nothing like the money councils say they've lost in the last few years. And as you know, Nottingham City Council says that is by far the biggest cause of its current financial problems. So we asked 2 of our MPs if the budget's doing enough for local councils.
We are now in a position where we've got around £65 billion going towards local authorities. That's a 7% increase in funding from last year. And on the 24th of January, we announced, in recognition of some of the pressures that local authorities face, an additional £600 million of funding for local authorities.
What councils in Nottingham, in Leicester and Derby can expect is a Labour government that would be laser focused on growing the economy, getting Britain building again, getting Britain working again with a long-term plan. That is the key to putting money back into people's pockets and money into our public services. And I'm afraid what we heard from the Chancellor today is just more of the same.
Very different views there from Liz Kendall and Gareth Davis. The devil, of course, Anne, is always in the detail, of course. That is still emerging. So keep watching for the full picture.
Well, indeed, Jeremy. Thanks for your insight. Thank you for that.